This is The Weekly Set, an official podcast of TheTotalScreen.com.
I wish I was the monster you think I am.
You have come here to beseech me?
Can't ask for your soul.
Madness can be a medicine for the modern world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Weekly Set, the official podcast of The Total Screen. I'm your host. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime here at The Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
So if you're wondering why this is coming a week late, this wasn't like a planned absence. We had some technical difficulties. My internet was out for like 3 days, and then Cyberpunk came out, and then I had a dentist appointment, and I had some dental work, and I wouldn't have been able to speak for a while, so... But at a certain point, when my internet just remained out and everything else coming up, Will and I just said, let's just put this off till next week and we'll just do a double, we'll discuss 2 episodes in the next episode. And that's where we are now. So now we are going to be talking about The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, The Tragedy, as well as The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 7, The Believer. We're going to be talking about both of these. So let's just get started. Let's just jump right in. Season 2, Episode 6, The Tragedy. Directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Yes. So the tragedy takes place directly after the episode with Ahsoka. You know, she basically directed the Mandalorian to this planet that has,
she said, not my problem.
Yeah, she said, not my problem. Said, go to this planet. There's like a mystical thing there where like Baby Yoda can...
There's a MacGuffin.
Yeah. where Grogu can potentially summon a Jedi through the power of the Force.
Yes.
And he said, like, basically, if he wants to be trained, he will tap into it and he will summon a Jedi. And if he's powerful enough, they will most likely sense him and come to, like, there. It's basically the gist of it. So that's what the Mandalorian is doing. He sits down on this planet and he puts Grogu on this rock and basically says, do your thing. And he's kind of just like sitting there and you're not sure if anything's going to happen. But as this is happening, some old familiar faces also land on this planet.
Well, we see Slave 1 pull into the atmosphere, which was cool.
Yeah, we see Slave 1. So you already know right away who's joining the party.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the people who's joining the party. We got another surprise, and our character from Season 1 of Mandalorian returns.
Yes, a character we thought was dead.
Yes.
Previously, but it turns out...
Melinda May from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Due to, yeah, right. Due to advanced cybernetics, she's fine again.
Yes. We're talking, of course, about Fennec Shand, played by Ming-Na Wen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was why I made that joke. They show up. She survived. She has a new stomach.
Yes.
Boba Fett hooked her up with a new stomach. He said, here's some gastric bypass surgery. Get back to work for me.
Meanwhile, while Mando is distracted by these people landing, Grogu manages to force activate the rock, and there's like this green light surrounding him, and he's kind of like in a trance-like state. And as these people are like landing, Mando's like, we gotta get the hell out of here. And he tries to grab Grogu, but he can't get through the force field, and he can't like get through to Grogu.
Force field.
Yeah, force field. That's what it is. Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the fighting goes, like, initially it's just Boba Fett and Fennec that are there, and they're kind of fighting Mando at first, but they want to make a deal with him. Like, Boba's like, I just want my armor.
Yes.
And before they can work out some kind of a deal on that, Mando really doesn't want to give it to him, but before they can work on that, we get a drop ship from Moff Gideon's Star Destroyer.
If you remember from 2 episodes ago, Moff Gideon placed a tracker on Mando's ship when he was getting it repaired. So that's how the stormtroopers found him.
Yeah, so they send a drop ship out with some stormtroopers who, of course, can't hit anything. And this causes a shootout, and it ends up getting Boba Fett and Mando all on the same side, basically.
But this leads to some of the coolest action scenes. It's Robert Rodriguez, so he knows how to do action, obviously.
Yeah.
You get some cool stuff, especially especially with Boba Fett fighting with the stick. Some really brutal kills. Like, damn, they didn't shy away. We see like one where like Boba like hits one of the stormtroopers like in the face and like caves his freaking skull in, and they show Stormtrooper laying there with like his freaking like helmet like all caved in and shit, like leaving no question that dude is dead. Is also another scene where like he impales one of the stormtroopers with his stick. They did not shy away. Like, these dudes are dead. These dudes did not get hit by lasers and just fall over.
The coolest happens because Boba notices Mando's ship, and he kind of takes off to Mando's ship. And the coolest thing happens when he comes back out in full Boba Fett armor.
Yes, he takes
the armor. And
then
once he's all armed up with his Mandalorian gear, then he starts doing some really badass shit.
Right.
He takes down 2 of the drop ships as they're trying to get away. It's just really cool shit, basically. And it's done in like cool ass action sequence Robert Rodriguez way.
Oh yeah. Robert Rodriguez was obviously the perfect director for this episode, because it's full of action. It's basically, and this is the bulk of the episode. It's basically one long fight as they fight the stormtroopers, while Baby Yoda is like in his force trance, contacting a Jedi supposedly. And they fight until finally Moff Gideon unleashes the Dark Troopers.
Which is, I don't have experience with the Dark Troopers. What I'd heard is that they were force-sensitive troopers. But here they look more like droids, like battle droids.
Yeah, they look like, so they might be like, I don't know.
They could be something like General Grievous, where it's like an actual being that's got like robotic parts or something.
Could be like that. But yeah, but they're not there to fight. They're there to like take Yoda. So basically after
Grogu, you mean?
Yeah, Yoda. So basically after several attempts by Mando to get the child out of there, each time being pushed back by a force field, Grogu apparently like has enough and everything stops and he just like falls asleep, and that's when the Dark Troopers grab him.
Like yoink?
Yep, like yoink right there. As like everybody's like racing to like get him. Yeah.
And then not only that, but then from the Imperial ship up in space, they destroy the Razor Crest.
Yes.
So Mando's ship is gone, Grogu's gone. Everything's bad.
But Boba Fett basically pledges to Mando that, he has a debt to pay, and that debt's not paid until he helps Mando get Grogu back.
He also reveals that his father, Jango Fett, or like his clone source, because Boba's a clone, is a foundling like Mando.
Yeah.
Which is the first time that's been said in all Star Wars lore, apparently. So that hasn't been known until now. And then not only that, but as you said, Boba is now agreeing to help him get the child back, because that was kind of the deal that they had made.
Right, exactly. That was kind of the deal that they made. And it's interesting, so we knew they were bringing Boba Fett back. I mean, they showed him at the very first episode. We knew it was only a matter of time before, he got into the action. So we know, that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit. They don't really go into, how, Boba Fett survived or how he's still around. They don't, try to explain that. They kind of, make, a reference, because Mando is, surprised, Fennec Shand is, still alive. And they kind of, use that to be yeah, it's surprising she's still alive. It's, it's also surprising Boba Fett's still alive, but, they're survivors.
I like all the stuff with Boba Fett, but at the same time, it feels like a big mismatch from how he was in the original trilogy.
You know what? I like him better in this because, one of the things they're doing is this gives the character more depth. It's a mismatch because in the original trilogy, the character didn't have much depth. He was I'm gonna be a bounty hunter, and oops,
he just kind of had a stupid, embarrassing death.
Yeah. I'm a cool bounty hunter, and now I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's the movies. This actually injects depth into the character, makes the character more interesting than just cool bounty hunter guy.
Yeah. Like I said, it's interesting thing, but it's a bit of a weird mismatch because it's not just that it adds depth, but it's just like the whole kind of like honorable bounty hunter thing and just the kind of badassery he was showing just doesn't really quite match with what we saw towards the end of Return of the Jedi with him, you know?
Right. Right. I think at some point they're going to have to like square that. They're going to have to like explain why this character.
So look, I was drunk.
Became bounty hunter.
But yeah, basically the end of the episode is Boba agreeing that, you know, he's going to help him find the kid. And from the wreckage of the Razor Crest, there's basically only two things that survive. Grogu's ball, the shift knob from the Razor Crest, and the spear, the Beskar steel spear.
Yeah, which is, that's a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, Chekhov's Beskin's steel spear.
Yeah, really. Because when they make such a big deal out of something like that, it's going to be used later.
Yeah.
Especially if it's the only thing to survive a ship being exploded, some random spear.
They're going to end up doing something like he's going to be fighting Moff Gideon, and everything he throws at Moff Gideon, he's going to be deflecting with the Darksaber, and then he's going to use the spear, and the Darksaber is going to strike it, and it's not going to do anything the same way that it was fending off Ahsoka's strikes. It's going to be something like that, I imagine. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the episode. Before we move on to the next episode, though, who do you think Grogu contacted? Who do you think he summoned with the Force?
I have no idea. Luke Skywalker.
You think it's going to be somebody we've seen before?
It's going to be somebody we've seen before. Somebody Star Wars fans know.
It could be like Ben Solo as a baby.
No, it's not going to be that.
It could be a Darth Maul.
Yeah, it's
like
going to be
half of Darth Maul.
It's not going to be a Sith.
It'll be his bottom half because his top half survived in the cartoons. So we're going to see what his bottom half's been up to.
It's going
to be Force Ghost Yoda, maybe?
It's going to be Obi-Wan. It's going to be, hello, you. No, Obi-Wan's dead. It's going to be Obi-Wan's Force Ghost.
It could be Luke. There's all that stuff going around where people want them to cast Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker because he just kind of happens to look like him. So that would be kind of interesting.
Give me 1 second here.
Another one that's heavily rumored is Mace Windu.
No, Mace Windu is dead.
Who really dies in Star Wars? I mean, Emperor Palpatine returned.
I know, but if they start resurrecting Jedi, then it makes the whole, killing of all the Jedi, pretty pointless. So, Jesus. No, it's not going to be Mace Windu. A lot of people are heavily speculating it's going to be Ezra Bridger from the Clone Wars or Rebels. I think it's Rebels. But apparently, he's a Jedi that would be around and alive in this time.
So that could be one. There have been a lot of characters from Clone Wars and stuff because Dave Filoni is involved in the show.
Yeah.
He was the guy that behind Clone Wars and everything. So that could be a possibility as well, yeah.
Yeah, that character is from Star Wars Rebels.
I'm still holding out hope for baby Ben Solo.
So apparently the character Ezra appeared in Star Wars Rebels with Sabine and Ahsoka, so it could be him.
So yeah, that could be an interesting one. That's pretty much it for that episode. Let's move on to the next episode, this week's episode, which was season 2, episode 7, The Believer. And this begins with them picking up an old friend.
Yes. Yeah, so this is awesome. So they brought back Bill Burr's character from the first season, which I'm
so happy they decided not to bring back Bill Burr's character.
Yeah, really. So yeah, they brought back Bill Burr, which I know some people don't like the heist episode from the first season, but what's really cool is they brought back Mayfeld, but in the first season where he came off as kind of one-dimensional, he was the guy who was the asshole and he was going to betray Mando and everything. This episode actually redeems the character, which I thought was great. And I thought Bill Burr killed it in this episode. He was awesome.
Well, this whole episode's all about moral relativism.
Yeah.
Which is something that's not often covered in Star Wars and when it is covered, it's usually not handled that well.
Right.
But here it's actually done fairly well. And it's the idea of he used to work for the Empire. He was like on the side that basically betrayed Mando in this other story, And here you kind of get like, you see like, but he's a multidimensional character. Mando's done some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like
Mando,
Grogu's done some fucked up shit and he's just,
and he's just a baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Like, yeah, true. So like,
as you mentioned, we saw, we saw Boba Fett cave in some guy's head in last week's episode. So they all do shit, It's just a matter of that he happened to be on the other side of our hero.
Yeah. And so basically what happens is like they have a Cara Dune, like Mando has Cara Dune, spring Mayfeld from his, from his prison.
It's like a labor planet or something.
Yeah, it's like, he's doing hard labor as his sentence apparently. And she's there to spring him. Mando needs him because he was in the Empire's army. And so he has access to knowledge, like codes and stuff that Mando needs to find Moff Gideon's location.
Yeah. And he ends up, when he finally ends up joining, he takes him to a planet called Morak. It's a jungle planet. And he says that even though the planet's supposed to be like basically all but abandoned, there's still an Imperial base on the planet where they mine something called Ridonium.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be like very volatile.
Mm-hmm. But because it's an Imperial station and because it's kind of understaffed since it isn't, since it is like mostly an abandoned planet, because of that, it's like an easy place to get to an Imperial terminal, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And so he says, we get in there, you get me to the terminal, I can find out where Moff Gideon is and where the kid is.
Right.
So they go there. When they reach the planet, they find that the best way to do it is to attack one of the convoys carrying some of this volatile stuff that's being mined on this planet.
Yeah. They can't walk in because like Mayfeld, like they have this technology that will scan people, and like if it recognizes them, then it would sound the alarm.
Mayfield's okay because he works for the Empire. Like he's not, there's nothing on his record showing that he doesn't work for them anymore, But everybody else except Mando is cut off, but Mando obviously can't walk in Mandalorian armor.
No, everybody, and that's an issue because like he doesn't want to remove that armor.
Yeah.
So they kind of like insist Mayfeld go in there alone, but Mayfeld doesn't want to go in there alone because he's worried somebody will recognize him, and then the game's up.
Well, I think it's Mando doesn't want Mayfeld to go in alone because he doesn't quite trust him.
Oh, yeah, that's what Mayfeld, I do distinctly remember Mayfeld was kind of protesting going in by himself.
But anyways, they take this mining truck, this transport, and they're taking it, back to the base so that they can get in there. And they're both now, since they took over this convoy, or this vehicle, they're both dressed as, troopers now. This allows, Mando to still have his face covered so that nobody sees him. But he's now not in his Mandalorian armor. So it's kind of like a compromise he's now made.
Yeah. So now he's made a compromise. There's a good discussion between, it's basically Mayfeld just talking and Mando like not responding.
And they're just staring at him.
But Mayfeld is like, basically asking him, okay, so, like a Mandalore, like your whole thing is you could never take off your mask, but you obviously did to get into that outfit. So apparently, so the thing isn't like you can't take off your mask. It's the thing with you is you can't show your face, right? Is that the compromise you're willing to make because, you want to rescue your buddy,
Yeah.
And basically he starts asking, what compromises are you willing, how far are you willing to really go to, rescue the child? What sacred, vows are you like willing to compromise for this?
They pass by some kids and Mayfeld makes the comment that, to them, Imperial, New Republic, it doesn't matter. They're both invaders. They're both occupying forces that are like taking over for this. So it's like, they don't care if it's Empire or New Republic. That doesn't matter to them. You're just an occupier. So at that point, Mayfield's already starting to set up kind of moral relativism as like the focus of this episode. And then as they pass through, they come under fire. And this is like more relativism in display again, because this is like a group of anti-imperial people. They're not there to steal the stuff. They're there to blow up the Empire trucks.
Yeah.
And they're being relatively effective at doing it, except that now they've come across Mando, who knows how to handle himself.
Yeah, they're relatively effective at doing it because, like, as we've seen throughout entirety of Star Wars, Imperial troopers are worthless. So unfortunately, unfortunately for them, this one happens to be commandeered by the Mandalorian, who is way more effective than entire convoys of Imperial soldiers.
Yeah.
So,
So he kind of makes mostly short work of them. Like, there's more and more keep coming. It's like an endless struggle. But he's making good work on, he's taken a bunch of them out,
But it gets to a point where, like, they're overwhelmed, and they're going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then, like, the TIE fighters come in and chase off the remainder, and it's like the first happy to see TIE fighters in the entire Star Wars franchise, let me tell you.
And Mayfield points that out. He's all, never thought you'd be happy to see stormtroopers, did you?
Yeah.
Like, and the people are all cheering him on. And you see these stormtroopers, a bunch of them without their masks on, and they're all cheering that these guys came back. They're like the heroes of the day. And now you have this kind of like moment where Mando now has this moment of camaraderie with stormtroopers.
Right.
And on top of that, he's just killed a shit ton of rebels.
Yeah.
People that are like fighting for their planet,
Yeah, fighting for their freedom, for their planet, So, yeah, again, there's that moral relativism, right? Was Mando in the right just because, like, his mission called for it, but, like, he was doing the wrong thing, even though it was literally his life on the line, because if he let them blow up he would be dead.
This is a very uncomfortable situation for Mando.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So they're in the base now. Mayfield's gonna go to the terminal and scan his face and get everything he needs from it. But the problem is the second he gets there he notices a former superior officer of his.
Yeah, basically a general, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, basically like a general that, like, Mayfield, like, fought under when he was when he was an Imperial trooper.
Yeah, somebody named Valen Hess is the name of the character. He's played by Richard Brake, who is actually the original Night King. You know how they had, like, the stunt coordinator for Game of Thrones ended up becoming the Night King in the later seasons? But when the first two appearances of the Night King, he was played by Richard Blake, the same guy who's playing Valen Hess, this superior officer. Whether he's a general or whatever, he's a superior officer. So Mayfield's kind of freaking out. He's like, I can't go in there. If he recognizes me, things can go wrong. He doesn't want to do it. He says he can't do it. The mission's going to be basically aborted. He's all, we need to get out of here. Mando ends up going, like, making the decision that he's going to do it. And so he goes in there, and for the second time in the entire series, he takes off his helmet.
Yes. He's forced into that situation where because Mayfield won't use the terminal because he doesn't want to be recognized by his former superior officer, and because the terminal requires a face scan, and because it's not going to scan your mask, Mando has to take off his mask and reveal his face.
What makes this kind of okay initially is that this terminal's kind of like off in the distance away from where everybody else is. So Mando's able to kind of approach it with his helmet on, approach the terminal. And so he's not actually showing his face to anybody. Anybody that looks over towards him is like 30 feet away, They can't like clearly make him out. So he's still kind of like, he's struggling, but he's kind of on that edge of like, this is okay. I just need to get my face scanned. I can put my helmet back on and everything will be fine. That is until Valen Hess just like walks right up to him and starts like questioning him, asking him for his code. And he's just blank. He doesn't know what to do. He can't like say anything.
Right. Yeah. Because he doesn't know.
Yeah. He doesn't know any of the protocols. He doesn't know anything he can use. And so at this point, Mayfield actually kind of comes to his rescue and kind of puts himself in danger to kind of get him out of hot water. Walks up and says, "Oh, this is my superior officer. He's a little hard of hearing because of some damage he took in a battle." Imperial, so he can't understand you, you know, like, but he works with me. And so he kind of gets, Hess off his case. But then Hess is like, he's just uncomfortably like sticking to them, you know? He's like, okay, well, now that I'm no longer suspicious of you, let's drink together. And you have to drink with me. You can't like not do it. So it's like they're like, now they're stuck in this situation. Mando's just feeling more and more uncomfortable without his mask on, can't really say anything, doesn't know any of the protocols. And he ends up basically bearing witness to Mayfield's backstory, where Mayfield kind of teases out of Hess the fact that Hess basically just threw all of his men away as part of Operation Cinder, which was the thing that was supposed to be enacted if Palpatine died, basically.
Right.
If Palpatine died, they were supposed to just kind of like burn off all these planets and fuck everything up so that the New Republic couldn't have anything.
Right.
And as part of that, he basically just was throwing all his men away and not giving a shit. And you just kind of get this impression of how callous and how much of an asshole Hess is, but also how much Mayfeld is lost. Yeah. But it's also heavily about how much Mayfeld is lost.
Right.
That he was an Imperial soldier, but he had buddies, he had friends and stuff, and they're all dead.
Yeah. And he says, and it's one of the most powerful scenes of the episode because, you know, like, because when Mayfield says to him, you know, what about those soldiers? And was it good for them? What about their families? Was it good for them? You know, in response to, the general saying it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
He's like, well, yeah, who was it good for? This is
the good kind of role for Bill Burr to play because he's really good at like having that kind of like snap moment of anger, you know?
Yeah.
He's really good at that, at portraying that.
Right.
And so like in this moment, he like loses it and just fucking murders House.
Yeah. In front of everybody.
Yeah.
So basically causing them to hastily escape a shootout with like all like units like rushing in, you know, to get them, you know, like, yeah, he just, you know, Mayfield just snaps and murders, you know, the general right there. And then it's one of those shoot first, figure out how you're going to escape later, you know?
Mm-hmm. So they, you know, I mean, they get out, they have cover fire from Fennec and, Mrs. Anti-Masker. So they have cover fire from them and they get a signal out to Boba who picks them up and they're getting away. But then at the end, Mayfield just straight shoots at the volatile mining material,
he
the
puts his
radonium. He uses his sharpshooter skills to shoot at the radonium and blows up the base, basically killing all those troopers.
Yeah.
That they had this little weird bonding moment with at one scene. So it's like, again, goes into moral relativism. It's like he brought up the fact that these are people too, and then he just killed them because, you know, they're people, but they're doing something bad. So yeah, so they get there, they get away, and Cara Dune and Mando basically just let him go. Like they were supposed to return him to his hard labor, but they say, oh, it's a shame that, you know, that Mayfield died on this mission. And Mayfield's like, are you for real?
Yeah. Like, he's like, for real? Like,
Cause I will walk off.
Yeah, right. He's like, I will leave. You know?
Yeah. And then he walks off and that's, you know, he's basically starting his life over. And we're eventually going to get a Bill Burr Star Wars spinoff where he's doing stand-up comedy around the Empire.
Right.
Around the Republic, I guess now.
Yeah, no, I love this episode mainly because of Bill Burr. They took a character that you were meant to hate in the first season, brought him back, redeemed him, gave him a lot more depth. Again, there's a thing, like I said, they gave Boba Fett depth in the last episode. They did the same thing to Mayfield. Burr turned in a fantastic performance. It's probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire season.
So in the finale, you're saying they're going to bring back Jar Jar Binks.
They're going to bring Jar Jar Binks and they're going to give him unparalleled depth.
Yeah.
Like you will like come away from it with a new appreciation for Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, that badass Gungan.
Yeah. Who knew like everything he went through? Anyway.
There is one final scene in the episode, which is Moff Gideon in his cruiser gets a signal, gets a message sent to him, and it's Mando, and he's basically just saying the same shit that Gideon said to him when he first showed up. Like, he means more to me than you could possibly imagine. But then also kind of adding in that, like, I'm going to hunt you down wherever you are. I'm going to kill you and I'm going to take him back because he means more to me than anything you could possibly imagine. And you can see the kind of concern on Moff's face, It's a badass play. It's cool. This is why Star Wars is good when it has its lovable rogue characters rather than its kind of heroic characters,
Yes.
It's more interesting. It's less interesting when it's just the straight up Jedi Council. It's more interesting when it's the Han Solos and the people that are a little bit more morally ambiguous.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Because Mando can straight up kill him, whereas like a Jedi would be like, we must avoid murder,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's really cool to kind of get that set up. It's kind of like a ooh moment, set up for the finale. Do you think we're going to get resolution on this? You think he's going to get Grogu back at the end of the season? We got one episode left.
I think he's going to get Grogu back. I think that's going to happen for sure.
What's the setup going to be for season 3? It makes me wonder,
The setup is going to be stuff. You'll have to wait and see.
Baby Ben Solo showing up to train Grogu. Yeah. It'll be something like that, yeah. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening in the season finale and what threads they end up tying for season 3. If Moff Gideon's going to survive his encounter or if he's going to die and then survive in some other form in some other show or movie later, as every Star Wars character seems to do these days.
Right.
But yeah, so it was a good episode. As you said, Bill Burr, not Bill Barr.
Jesus, not Bill Burr.
Bill Burr does a great job again. Like, as I said, he's really good at playing those characters with like a really short fuse, that just kind of snap on like an instant, that just they hit too much and they snap. That's kind of how he is in his stand-up too. It just kind of fits. So he's good at those kind of character types. So it was cool seeing him just kind of explode on the general and just murder him just like in front of everybody. But you also have to give credit to the villain himself, Valen Hess, played by Richard Brake. Man, what a slimy piece of shit, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's it for The Mandalorian this week. Next week, we're going to be discussing the season finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Until then, here's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is until the end of the year, I guess, actually. So today we're recording this Monday, December 14th. Tiny Pretty Things has come to Netflix. On Wednesday, December 16th, The Expanse returns to Amazon Prime. How to Ruin Christmas the Wedding comes to Netflix, and Run On comes to Netflix. On Thursday, December 17th, The Stand comes to CBS All Access. 4 Blocks to HBO Max, and Total Control to Sundance Now. On Friday, December 18th, a Creepshow holiday special comes to Shudder. El Cid to Amazon Prime. Home for Christmas to Netflix, and Sweet Home to Netflix. On Thursday, December 24th, Christmas Eve, Shadow Lines comes to Sundance Now. On Friday, December 25th, Christmas, Bridgerton comes to Netflix. This is kind of like the Shonda Rhimes take on Downton Abbey.
Oh, okay.
So weird. But even though they're not TV shows, I wanted to point out also on Christmas Day, Soul, the new Pixar movie, comes to Disney Plus, and Wonder Woman 1984 comes to HBO Max. So there's like 2 really big movies that were supposed to be theatrical releases this year coming to streaming services on Christmas. On Saturday, December 26th, Letterkenny returns to Hulu. On Wednesday, December 30th, Vikings makes its debut on Amazon Prime. It's being moved there from history. These are new episodes. It's not just like showing up on the service. I wouldn't mention it otherwise. Equinox is coming to Netflix, and Transformers War for Cybertron Earthrise comes to Netflix. On Thursday, December 31st, the last day of the year, New Year's Eve, Cleaning Up comes to Sundance Now, and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina returns on Netflix. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at VoxelHero. You can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to the podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen for the very best in genre television.